your screen once again. So aside our travel block, we want to introduce more interesting activities. And now we have an interview session called Rising Icons, where we interview celebrities who are young and yet successful. We get to know about their story, the story behind their success, and we get to interact with them. Today on Rising Icon is my very own baby girl, a lady I so much respect and admire. She's so beautiful yet humble. Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Mrs. Benedicta Boahen, known as Sarfoa in the industry. Hey girl, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all my darling. So how are you doing, darling?
I'm fine, thank you, and I admire what you do as well. Girl, you're on fire.
Thank you. She's making me shy. Oh my God. Anyways, that's fine. Even before we start the whole interview, can you tell us about the young lady behind the Sarfoa brand?
This is definitely going down memory lane. Basically my childhood, right?
Yes, please.
Right, Sarfoa. Then my former name was Benedicta Samoa in school, and then my household name, Mame Sarfoa. So I would say my childhood has been like a pleasant one. And when I say pleasant, I don't mean everything was rosy. I think it was a homogeneous mixture between fun and then sad, between successes and failures through my academic journey, through, I mean, having my own like family, because once again, my dad and mom are all ministers, you know, of the gospel. And so most of the times you don't get to spend that time with them much because they are busily sharing the word of God across the country. Yes, but I still loved how my journey has been, and I know everything has been aligned so that it gets to where I am today. And so I really appreciate it. Maybe I can take it from, I hail from the Ashanti region, particularly Obuase, Adansi, or Adansi Akroche.
And so you can add in your alma maters if you're okay with
Obviously.
that. I am a side girl. Hey, hi, my
okay.
mother. So
okay, hi, Adesia. So yes, and back then we were three siblings, myself, so my elder brother, myself, and then my little sister, but now we are 6, so 3 boys, 3 girls. And so my dad, mom, Apostle Victor Kwesi Samoa, I just want to use this opportunity to give them all the shout out, and Rebecca Samoa. It's all your lovely viewers who are watching us. It's such a pleasure to be the first interviewee on this beautiful show called The Rising Icon, and I know that it's going to go far.
Yes.
Now back to the question.
We are glad to have you here too as well. So.
Yeah, so I remember our first station, that is my dad and mom, when they started their ministry at the Church of Pentecost. So they were transferred to Yaumecha. Okay, that was Mipom first.
Wow,
so,
you remember?
Oh, yes, I do, because we were with them throughout the journey. So Mipom, you understand, Mipom is not really, back then, so many years, like 28 years ago. So you can imagine how the development of that place was when we started.
Sorry, even before cutting you, I know mostly some ministers would love to leave their kids behind.
So I'll get to that.
Exactly.
I mean, when that was the preliminary stages where mommy was pregnant with us, so obviously at the start we will be with them. So we were born in the church. It's whilst they were doing the ministry, we were coming one after the other. So
no wonder I now understand why. Yeah.
So Mipom was the first, and then my elder brother Benjamin came in, and then I did come in, but obviously KG, nursery, we started off from there. But my grandmother, my grandparents visited us one faithful day, and then they were doing their own assessment. That was the first time they had met us, so they just want to see how things are going. And then they started asking a typical Sarfoa, how are you, sweet, bubbly little girl? I look at them and I made them into bravo.
Oh my God, really?
Listen, I always talk about it because it's so funny, but that's how serious it was. Being in an environment or a society where education wasn't really privy. It wasn't really an important thing to discuss. And of course, I still love my Mipom people because they were exceptionally good to us. But I mean, that was the situation. So my grandparents realized that no, if children with such bright futures like this start off on this note, it's not going to be well. So why don't we relocate to Kumasi? That was where they were, and then start off on a very good foot. And so we agreed upon all discussions and everything. We went to Kumasi, typically Kentin Krono.
So that was the kids and not necessarily your parents.
So So that was me, my brother, and then my
Okay.
little sister. That time we were
okay.
3. And so that decision was made, and we all, just a few of us, relocated to
Kumasi.
with our grandparents. So
Leaving
that
your
my
parents behind
Yes,
to
for
do their
them-
ministerial work. Okay.
they have been called. And
Anyways,
so we
quite
started.
interesting.
Yes, we started at St. Louis Jubilee.
Okay.
That was in Udium, it's still there, Udium Kumasi. I love the place so much because, I mean, it formed part of our formative period growing up. But it became a big challenge for me because the whole transition, my body was still readjusting to it. For my elder brother and my little sister, they just got into it seamlessly. So they were between first to third. When it came to academic reports, they were there. But when you're looking for Sarfoa, I am 20 something, 30. Like, it was so hard for me to even understand the whole thing going on in my life. And it was a long stretch. It was a long stretch from JHS to from primary to JHS, even SHS at some point. But I realized that I was now finding my feet gradually. And you know how educational system in the country is. It becomes difficult for people who do not, I mean, I'm really not comfortable with the normal way of education. We have people who have talent and they don't necessarily have to go through basic and JHS, but it's not like that. You all have to go through it. It's maths, you have to learn it. English.
I know.
And so I just had to adjust myself, and it was a big thing for me. I remember one time, I was like last but one, and there was a last person in the class. So that was my motivation.
God, I can't believe this.
Yes, let me tell you.
Your motivation was the last person.
Because I know that I won't be last. And this guy came to tell me that, I'm leaving.
Oh, sorry.
Like, why are you doing this to me? So if you leave right now,
So
who's going to be last?
she was going to be the last person in the class.
And so these are some of the fun moments. I enjoyed the journey, but even throughout all the figuring out, knowing, adjusting to the new regime, the system, I realized that Sunday school was really holding me. Because I was very vibrant.
Very necessary.
My brother, my sister, and myself, we were very vibrant at Sunday school. So when it comes to carry your sword and all of those games, I was on top of it. I was doing well. I was called like a talented girl because I was doing very well there. So later,
it
started from there. So I was like, so I'm not really, it's not that I'm not intelligent.
Exactly.
Probably I'm not getting the whole system when it comes to education. But this can be a motivation.
Doing excellently well in a different...
Thank you.
Exactly.
And even throughout primary, I became a compound prefect.
Whoa.
JHS, I became a chapel prefect. SHS, I became a chapel prefect.
Even when you were last in class?
Yes. But SHS, I wasn't. SHS, I had figured it out a little bit. And even at some point, after Yas Antoine, I went to another private school to write WASI again because,
Well, I didn't know about that. You're just telling me.
Again, that was Peace Senior High in Koforidia.
Whoa,
I got there. I didn't start with them. I got to, I think, I started Form 2 with them, almost Form 3, so that we can rewrite and everything. They called me to be a protocol prefect, and there I figured out my real purpose and how to understand the educational system in the country. And so at a point, I was even teaching some of my colleagues maths. Me of 4 people, maths. I was teaching maths. I was getting awards for oral English and then doing quizzes with the school. And I just looked back and I was like, if somebody stood somewhere and told me that in some few years ahead of me, I was going to be that person, that icon, who will be teaching their colleagues, someone who is going to be the rising star, I wouldn't have believed. Because I was suffering from inferiority complex. Because, you know, the people that were closer to me, my brothers and my sisters, my mom, my dad, they are all super intelligent. My grandparents, the people who stayed with us, they are all intelligent. But I'm the only bad nut. So it was a big toll for me. I just couldn't understand. But one thing I came to also understand is that the evidence of success or your bravery and your courageousness is not the absence of fear.
Wow, that's a good one.
It's not the absence of fear. It's not the absence of failure.
Wow.
And so you may be successful today, but that doesn't mean you never failed in life. And so every time when I stand, that is my modus operandi, even though it's not just one. But it always reminds me that, hey, there are some times that you feel, but that doesn't mean it is a written off statement. You can still come out strong. You can still come out bright. So I mean, that's a little bit about my childhood and the young lady behind Sarfoa today. I never forget that part because now I know that no matter how bad you started in life, it does not determine who you will be in the near future. You just have to have that spirit of determination and know that you have been called to this earth for a particular purpose, and your existence is not just a mistake, but you're supposed to fulfill something. And so I kept on, even though I didn't know. Sometimes I'll just learn. I'll pick 1 hour. I'm still on that one line.
I just still not here.
It wasn't telling, but I kept moving because I knew one day my story was going to be different.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's something little about me.
Okay, I must say that you're very intelligent, darling. Looking at how she's talking about her story, trust me, if you are to ask me about my childhood experiences, I might possibly get something to tell, but not into details. And that is very good of you. So let's now come to your journey into Ghana's Most Beautiful.
Right.
How was it? What inspired you to go in for a beauty pageant? Yeah.
Okay.
And sorry, even before that, because I learned you went to Miss Malaika. I stand to be corrected.
That's right.
I learned there's a story behind it. So if you could share your story with us.
The girl has done a research. That is true. And that started in 2016. So this whole... Like
2016, that would be on campus by then.
On campus.
Wow.
Campus, fresh and all vibrant, exuberant, trying to try all things to prove to myself that, hey, I can be that girl I want to be. I can be that source of inspiration. But that wasn't the time for me. And so going back, I spoke about inferiority complex issues and also it was something that was still having a toll in me, even though I was moving forward and proving myself wrong each day, that I was worth it. I could do more than what I thought I could do. So 2016, fast forward, I saw the urge just came. I just wanted to partake in a pageantry because I felt I was called to do something there, but I didn't know when.
Exactly.
I didn't know how.
Exactly.
So I kept reading and looking at the pageantries in the country. Ghana's Most Beautiful, I had watched it whilst I was a child, but I don't know whether because that time, during those times, I was finding it very difficult to understand beauty, to know that I am beautiful, and watching them, I don't know, there was this kind of attachment, so I didn't want to even listen to it. I didn't like it. Yes. I didn't.
Because you felt you weren't beautiful enough.
I wasn't beautiful enough. I felt I could not stand on that platform that these ladies will stand and will prove.
Wow.
I mean, we're just beyond reasonable doubt.
Hey, look at you now. Oh my God, girl. You have a very interesting story.
Let's continue. So when I was looking at the pageantries, reading around it, Ghana's Most Beautiful was actually out. I did not consider that. So I was like, okay, what next? I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I can trust Miss Malaika a little bit. So let's start off from there and see. I spoke to my dad about it, my mom. Obviously, whenever I'm doing any stage I take in my life, I make sure that I include them because they are a source of inspiration. They are models and they have been in the church for so long and they know. So I felt it's good not to hide things from them so that if they have any advice, any guidance, anything, I know that I am safe there. So my mom was all for it. My dad was a bit shaky, but he was like, hey, they trust me. They know that I'm not a promiscuous or an
I can imagine, because coming from such a spiritual background and the beauty, you know, in Ghana we don't do that, and you can't even tell your father who's a pastor that you want to go in for a beauty pageant.
You just took it out of
I
my
can
mouth,
understand,
right? And I'm sure we'll get there. That one, let me put that aside, and I'll talk about
yes,
that.
yes, ma.
And
Yes,
so
ma.
I looked, I'm okay, Miss Malaika. I spoke to my dad and my mom, and they're like, okay, let's see what comes out of it. I did not feel that kind of fire and passion as I felt when I had a change of heart to go to Ghana's Most Beautiful later on. But I'll come to that.
Okay.
So I went anyways. I just went through the process. First audition, I passed. Second one, I saw the kinds of ladies who were coming and like, hey, Sarfoa. I say, I grew in my day. Now, baby, I didn't feel belonged. I really felt that this wasn't it. Not to maybe say Miss Malaika is not the best or they have their own. Yeah. Yes, but I felt that wasn't the time for me. And God, I prayed about it, but I didn't hear anything from him. And I and I went. And so whilst I was there, I felt something was amiss. And so we did the second auditions, and that was where they evicted me.
Oh, so it was actually true. I thought it was just a rumor. I didn't even know it was true.
I just came out, and I remember amongst the judges, I think there were about 2 or 3. One of them very popular. If I mention the name, you will know, but I won't. And he was telling the producer, this girl, the girl in the middle, she's beautiful. And I knew they were talking about me. And I think 2 of them were actually for I joining in there, those who have passed to the next stage. But either the producer or one of them was like, no, let's give her another time.
Maybe it was just not your time.
So that was it for me. And it was just like a confirmation from God that, girl, you are Russian.
Yeah.
And so just take your time and go back. I cried because I felt, oh, this was it, and I wanted to, and I thought I was beautiful, and I went and they have confirmed to me that I really am not beautiful. And so it took another toll on me and all to figure it out. But that was 2016, and now I still kept on reading about it, having a change of heart, mind. God brought some kinds of people my way. I remember one was a non-denominational group that we used to pray every morning and evening, sing songs of adoration and all. So I had this friend, he plays a guitar, and then I sing along, and we do this nice blend harmony thing. And so I remember sometime we were just talking, and he was like, he's a Nigerian. He's like, Sarfoa, do you know Ghana's music? I was like, you this Nigerian that you are
telling you about Ghana's music.
That you're asking me if I know Ghana's music. I know. That time it had dawned on me, and I was beginning to consider and have a change of heart. So I was even reading more about it, and then he brought it up, and I'm like, how did you just bring it up? Like, because we've never spoken about anything around that side. So why? And he's like, he just felt that was after one ministration we were done in one afternoon, and then we were talking, and I was like, I think you will really do well when you go there. Give it a try. I'm like, God, I actually feel that God is speaking to me right now, because he wasn't the only person. Another friend of mine
spoke about it as well.
They speak, and I'm like, oh, let's see God's time. You know, sometimes we have one.
You had already given up because of what happened at Miss Malika.
Yeah, I was afraid. Yes, I was like, let's just see. But we did that. My beloved, now my husband,
now our husband, our in-law,
my husband.
Oh, this is a family gathering, so you have to understand we are sharing our husband. Please, her husband.
Thank you.
My sister's husband. So my in-law.
That's on period.
Yes, ma.
Okay, so we spoke about it, and he's like, yes, I think it will be good for you to also go. Then I spoke to my dad, my mom, mommy, daddy, this is what I want to do. I was like, hey, Sarfoa, who be you? But this one, they felt I was very serious about it. And there was a new fire in this one. So for my mom, he loves things like this. So he was like, go for it, I'm support of you. My dad went on, spoke to chairman about it. I consulted a little bit. And that time, that was when 2021 we're very big on the possessing the nation's agenda. So I mean, that was a message for me that you are in there to also go and possess. You are going to a new world. So this is yours. So I spoke to my dad about it, and he also consulted and was like, okay, well, chairman, most of the elderly people in the church are saying that possessing the nation's agenda and it will be this is where you want to take yours, and so we are in support. We know we know that the values, the principles we have taught you whilst growing up and everything will lead you, and so you won't go wayward or do what others are doing, but we believe in you and we are with you. That alone gave me another fire. I remember that time my mentor, we were working together, he was not for it. And so that too almost broke me down, because every decision I make, I consult him and he is in support.
So sorry for cutting you in. So if you say he wasn't for it, what does it mean? Was it that he felt it wasn't holy enough, for lack of a better word?
Right.
Or like, can you explain it further for us?
So for him, he was like, he knows these pageantries and what it leads people to do and where they end up at. And so for me, he liked me so much that he wanted me to be somewhere. And I also attested that this is what I want to be in academia. We are doing this, and so we were actually working together hand in hand. And then all of a sudden, or someone will say, "Oh, for salad," you just come in and say, "This is where I want to go." That is not the path for you, kid. You have a change of mind. And so I was like, no, I strongly feel that I have to do this, especially this year. But I'm still praying about it, so let's see. He left it like that, but he made it known to me that he was against it in all of it. He was against it. And I remember one of my fathers, so I spoke to him about it, he was also against it. And so it was like a push and pull. There were others who were for the idea, there were others who wasn't for it. But I felt strongly within me that this was my time and I had to go. And even with the project that I had in mind and everything was aligning.
Okay, so if I should ask you, how were you able to convince them? The mentors that you're talking about, you said initially, so did they just give in that now you can go ahead and do
it? I didn't convince them.
Because initially too, you said your dad was against it, but later on he understood.
Exactly.
So how were you able to manage to do that?
So with my dad, it was later we kept talking. So I told him he wanted to know the reason for going in there because I tried one and then I didn't even get anywhere, and now I'm doing another one. So what's the difference? What are you going to do? And I had to just talk to him from my heart that this is what I feel in my heart. This is the new passion I have found, and I want to go for it. And so immediately he heard me talk about this whole possessing the nations, talk about this fire, this whole conviction from the Holy Spirit. He was like, okay, let me also do my consultations and I'll come back. So later on, he was like, well, he may not be 100% for it, but then he knows that this is a good ground. So I should just go be fertile. I should just go and then prove and make Jesus, known to the world. And so for the other mentors, I didn't have to convince them. And that's what sometimes we fear. Like sometimes we just want to prove ourselves to some people in our lives.
Yes.
I tell you for a fact that these people that I did not convince and I still went anyway, after the whole episode of the whole season of Kindness Was Beautiful, they see me and they stand and they clap for me.
Wow.
And my mentor was so proud of me. The last time I went to visit him, he was just showing me to his office staff. Everybody he sees, he was just introducing me to them, telling them that he is so proud of me.
Wow.
And so you can imagine sometimes people do not see the vision that God has shown you. It is your vision.
Yeah.
So you should have that kind of fire, that fierceness to it, because you know where you are going and what God has told you. Those people who do not know, don't blame them and think they hate you. Because of course, sometimes you look at the circumstances around and you feel like this is not really right for you, girl. But you also know what God has told you. You know that you're going to flourish when you go there. And so I was like, regardless, not that I am being disrespectful, but I've also done my research. I've also spoken largely around, and then I know that this is something that will not, destroy my life.
Sure,
so let's go for it. And then here we are today.
Interestingly, here we are today.
Yeah.
So can you please tell about some of the challenges that you faced whilst you were in the GMB house, or like throughout the process, the journey into becoming a celebrity as you are now?
Okay, let me talk about the last thread that broke the camel's back. Like that one happened to me, and I'm like, this is it. God is the one speaking to me.
To you.
So normally before GMB, you have to do auditions.
Okay.
So 2020.
Okay.
That was
The
during
year
the
before
COVID, the
you
year
go
before
into-
I went in. I was looking out for it, so I watched that full episode. That's Quena. Big shout out to her. I love her so much. She has been an inspiration to me.
Wow.
And so that year I followed it through, but I was like, how do people see the news about it and go for the auditions? Because I did not even see it. All I saw was that GMB has started. And so I was just hoping that 2021 I will be able to see it and I won't miss it.
Okay.
But interestingly, I did not miss it. My now husband just saw it somewhere and then he shared it to me.
Wow.
But even that's not it. So after that, I was like, okay, how do I go there? Because I was working freshly on probation, so you can't take leave.
An extra, okay.
Yes, you're
Or
not
any extra
entitled to
duty.
leave during that 6-month probation. And so I was wondering, how then will I do it? Luckily for me, my grandfather, who is also one of the pioneers of the Church of Pentecost in some of the
See,
countries.
I can tell the Pentecost is in her.
Oh, yes.
You can even tell from the way she's talking. Shout out to all Pentecost members. I am one myself.
Yes. And so they spent some, months and years in Italy, and he established a church there together with my grandmother. And so it was time for his retirement. He was an elder of the church. And so in Kumasi, that's where Kentin Konon, that's where we were during those days, my childhood days. And so it was time for him to be retired. Now he is a king or a chief, I would say. And so being retired, we have to be there because it's a family thing. So I had to just speak to my boss as at that time. I spoke to him and he was like, okay, you can go for that one, you can go. And so I was just looking at how I can get a window to do the auditions. So that was later. I saw the auditions and then I realized that it was within that same week, the Monday.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So the
you could make
auditions, so the retirement service was on the Sunday.
Yes.
And then the following morning, which was the Monday, they were doing the auditions in Kumasi. So you know that normally the auditions, we do it zonals, we do zones.
Okay.
So we go to various regions, Takrade, we go to the north, and then Kumasi, we do Accra before we do a semi-final one all in Accra.
Okay.
So I was like, how did this happen? Because just within that small window of I getting some time off work to travel to Kumasi. I get to audition in Kumasi the same time. And I wouldn't have a problem with my boss. I wouldn't have a problem with work. So I just saw it and I'm like, it looks like when you get the confirmation that this is something that you have to do from God and it's really from God, things just align. He just put things your way. Sometimes we think so much, but I decided to move according to his word and what he has said to me. And things were just aligning. I didn't have to stress so much. So I went there and I saw these beautiful ladies. I'm like, hey.
Beautiful ladies again.
And again, 2016 issue, it not going to happen. I didn't even know that whilst I was thinking about that.
Also beautiful, darling.
Others were like, who is this threat? This is a threat. Exactly. A threat to my long-term decision of coming to Ghana's Most Beautiful. So I remember at some point, one lady came to tell me that, oh, I know that you are good, but I've been coming here. This is my set time or 7th time auditioning. Oh. Please, can you just retreat so that I can? And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Can you tell me
I also know this is my time, so I can't do anything about it. Respectfully, let's all contest, and whoever truly deserves it will go in. So you don't have to come and tell me.
I tell you this.
So that happened. Now we are in the house. I didn't expect what's happened there, honestly, because I had never experienced anything like that. We never used our phones in the house, so I even left my phone in my house before going to the reality house, and then meeting 15 different young, beautiful ladies across the country. Okay. Some parts of the country you have never been there before. You've not even met people from there. Sorry, and now we are supposed to stay together, pray together, cook, clean, eat, contest at the same time. And so the journey there, I say right from beginning, was a bit difficult, but then adjusting to it, and I was very determined, because I mean, telling you all the phases that had happened or preceding the house, then I knew that this is my moment. So I have to take everything that goes in there serious and make it work. This is now or never. Okay. So it was challenging, you waking up sometimes at dawn because you don't have your phone. Research was going to be a bit of challenge, but we were provided with some desktops too. Eventually one even got spoiled. So now among the 16 of us, we had to be shuffling. You wake up like at dawn, someone is there and you're like, please, I'm after you. So when you are done, come and call me and then I'll do it. Another person. So it really wasn't the normal way of living. You had to adjust. It wasn't for the week. It wasn't for the week. And we wake up at dawn like 4 latest. We do exercises. After that, by the count of 10, you have to do your makeup, be ready, you are stepping out. It was a military ground, I tell you. I felt I had to go through that. It really was a big lesson and one of my highlights in my life as I'm now. It has shaped me so much. The grooming, catwalking on heels, your composure as a lady, even though it wasn't so nice because you don't get to sleep a lot like you want to, and you are always on the run. You are always trying to outbeat yourself because this week you got star performer. What are you going to get in the next week? So it was more like a competition between yourself because you have to always keep proving to yourself that you're capable and you're capable of all the love and the support coming from the people who are watching and cheering you on. And so the journey wasn't easy, trust me. The challenges, I remember one time, one of my performances, a lot of things happened. And so at the background. And so it's like it took a toll on me so much. And so my husband was telling me that then he was my manager. He was my manager. So he was telling me that immediately he saw my face on the stage, he realized that something was wrong. And you could easily read from my face because I had cried even before. My dress wasn't fitting. A lot happened that day. So I went there and it was a total flop. Goodness, I cried my heart out after the performance. Even though I finished my script, everything I wrote, I did it, but I felt the mind was just tired because within that week I had to change the personalities about 4 times. I had to change my script for 4 times. So on the 11th hour, I had to cram everything in my head and come and see. And cramming it didn't help me. But then I was like, let me take some life lessons from that and build on and do well in the next. So the next one, I got an award.
Wow.
And, so even though there were a lot of challenges and issues, but it was worth it. And eventually you just keep building yourself to the new heights.
Very inspiring.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we keep hearing my husband, my manager, my boyfriend, my husband. So obviously we can tell you are married now.
Okay,
so
let me just wipe my face.
So where the single ladies?
So that you see, All
the single ladies. Anyway, so how has love and marriage been? How was your journey? How was your journey like in finding love?
Okay. A typical Sarfoa growing up, because of all the things that was happening in my life, love was the least I was looking at. Trust me, and my grandfather was so strict.
Strict on you
So
guys.
strict that when I became a teenager, those days that you have some Nokia phone, we cry to do some small text. He will seize it. You won't get the time. You won't use a phone, and so I think it affected me somehow in a good way, in a positive way. So every time I see guys coming to me, a lot of them was at that time university. I remember, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel this complete. I just want to be completely off. I don't like it. I just didn't like it. I saw all guys to be my brothers. Can you imagine?
Brother in Christ.
Brother in Christ, sister in Christ. Like, I just see them like, oh no, I'm not interested.
My brother, how can we do
exactly?
Oh
I don't
my
have that
God.
kind of feeling towards you. But I think I feel or I know so that it was one way the Holy Spirit was using to keep me for the appointed time. Well, we all have different stories and we all have ways that the Holy Spirit or God treats us. But mine, I knew this is it. Every time, if it's not the appointed time, He shields you so that when the time is right, He can present you. And so even when my husband came, that now it became a phobia. Because it's like I saw all guys to be my brother. So immediately you confess to me that, oh, I like you, let's do this, let's do that. I'm done with you. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, but it won't work. And so I will just, I will cancel you out and then we are no more friends. Wow. And luckily for me, all of the guys who were coming in with marriage. I'm sure they looked at the kind of person and then, well mannered. You look like a wife material. So they don't say, oh, let's date. They'll be like, oh, I want to marry you or let's start something. So within that time, the peak of the moments, my husband appeared. He also used the same route that everybody was using.